Primal Derma, how I love you. I love this stuff. It is not vegan. I'm going to say that right now. For any vegans that are watching this, you will not enjoy this. But for meat eaters who love animals and want the animals that they consume to be taken well care of and treated respectfully, you're going to think this is really, really cool, because this is really, really cool. Hi, welcome to Kick-Ass Switch, putting the K in magic. I'm Joanna DeVoe, and you are watching a product review for Primal Derma, which is, it was created, it's a labor of love from somebody who is really deeply into ancestral health and crafting in the old ways. And so I think that this is a really cool product for anybody who's eating a paleo diet, a primal diet, anybody who is into the old religion, which I know so many of you witchy people are, or anybody who is really just looking to get back to our natural place in the world. I spent some time as a raw vegan, and I have so much respect for people that choose that lifestyle, especially because so many that choose that lifestyle, they choose it because they love animals and they don't want to harm any animals. And I think that that is a natural reaction to factory farming. So that makes a lot of sense to me. I made a different choice for myself because, for so many reasons. But when it comes to being, studying the life cycle that we study when we walk the wheel of the year, and when you get in touch with nature, everything lives, everything dies, everything eats everything else. Like when you die, things are going to eat you. They're eating you right now. They're microscopic things. So you might think you're at the top of the food chain, and maybe you are, but meanwhile, little critters are chomping at you right now because you're a spirit. You're not your body. This is a temporary vessel. And what's interesting to me is that when you try to control, like people tried to come in and kill all of the gray wolves in California. I may get this story wrong, but this is the way I remember it off the top of my head. And when they did that, they succeeded. They killed almost all of the gray wolves. And so I think it was in California. So this huge imbalance occurred of the animals that the gray wolves ate and preyed upon. We got an overpopulation of them. I believe they were deer, and they just started eating everything green. They were like chewing up, they were ruining the landscape because there was no balance. They took over because the wolves weren't keeping their population in check, and so gray wolves had to be brought in to keep the population in check. So I think that in that way we're part of the food chain, but I still think that it's important to honor your place in the food chain and be respectful if you're going to consume animal products. And, eat grass-fed animal products from animals that were raised on small local farms by people who actually care about the animals and treat them well and feed them their natural diet. And what does that have to do with Primal Derma, which is a skin cream? Well, this is the first skin cream that I have ever come across that is in alignment with all of those things. And let me read you the back of what it says on this bottle, because I think it's really cool. It's interesting, they don't do animal testing with their products, even though they use animal products, which is just another sign that they love animals. Not everybody who loves animals becomes a vegan. They become kind of a respectful, mindful, heart-centered consumer of animal products, which is interesting. But they wrote, Primal Derma is made from animals that were grass-fed, pasture-raised, and led happy lives on small American family farms. Their nutrient-rich fat would have been unused and disposed of, but we saved it for you and your skin, which is very good news. If you go to their website, primalderma.com, you can read all about it, because I'm not going to be able to remember all of the details and share that with you. It's really fascinating if you like to nerd out on that stuff like I do. But in a nutshell, animal tallow, which is animal fat, is almost bioidentical to your own fat. So it absorbs into your skin like nothing else, and it works very well in healing your skin. And I know that it has A, D, E, and K vitamins that are fairly hard to come by, and some B vitamin. Again, I recommend going and reading on their website. It's rich in amino acids, stearic acid. These are just things I'm remembering off the top of my head. But go check out their About page and their facts page. Their About page is going to tell you about Matt Stillman, and I love that page because it just makes you fall in love with the company all the more when you realize, wow, this is really a labor of love. This is something that he did just for the pure joy of it, and because he's in alignment with those values and such a part of this whole ancestral living movement, which I think is just a reaction to everything being so filled with chemicals and kind of heartless, and the way that, you know, technology is taken over. So many of us are like, wow, I just want to put my feet in the grass. I just want to touch the dirt. We have this longing to get back to nature because we are nature. And so this is fabulous in that way, but also, and this is what I should have said in the beginning, it works like gangbusters. I have crazy dancer feet, and if you've ever been a dancer, you know that dancers have the most beautiful bodies and the most troll-like feet. And I have not danced professionally or even in a classroom situation since I grew up dancing and doing gymnastics, but I haven't really done that a lot in my adult life, but I continue to do it for myself at home, just for the pleasure and just because I can't stop, because I love it, because it brings me joy. So my feet have like crazy calluses on it, and there is no product ever that has ever made a difference on like my heels and the pads of my feet. They're just constantly like cracked and dry and not that cute, except when I started using this. I thought, ooh, I'm gonna put it on my feet because that's gonna be like the ideal tester, because nothing works on my feet. I also get eczema breakouts if I eat any of the foods that I have food sensitivities to, eggs, very unfortunately. And I got a little breakout when I was experimenting with this, and overnight it was just like, goodbye. So there's some kind of magic going on here. And speaking of magic, I know so many of you love Sarah Ann Lawless. She gets some hate sometimes because she uses animal tallow in the creation of her flying ointments. This is the Saturn flying ointment that she created. Whoops. There we go. And she's actually the first person that made me start thinking about how humans have been working with animals in this way forever. For as long as we've been here, we have had this like co-creative relationship with animals. They're our partners, they're our friends, they're our food, they're our lotion. And back in the day, we used every single part of them, which brings me back to what I read to you from this bottle, is like, maybe that was by design. You know, maybe we're not supposed to just cut out the white meat and then throw everything else away. I mean, I know for those of us that love animals, we think that that's obscene and extremely disrespectful, and that we want to use all the parts of the animal to respect the animal, but also maybe that's beneficial to us. I'm really starting to think so as I'm using this cream, because it has amazing results. I've been using it on my hands and they're so soft and so nice. I love it. And then if I have any extra, I just like get any flyaway hairs out of the way or split ends, and it's really awesome for that as well. People use it for diaper rash cream. Thankfully, I am like 2 decades out of the diaper rash phase with my kids, so I have not had to test it out that way. But I also hear that it's making kind of a kick-ass sex lube, so if that interests you, that could be rather interesting. It has a very specific smell, and it's because they wanted to create a unisex product for everybody. It's fairly mild. It reminds me, it's got like a grassy tone to it. I personally would prefer something a little more girly. And I told Matt that, and he was like, yeah, well, we work with a essential oil specialist. I think this person is a chemist, to create, you know, to work with the essential oils and the tallow in a way that flatters the tallow so it doesn't, you know, smell like dead animal. And they've done a really great job with that, and their intention is to branch out as the brand builds into new scents that work with tallow, but also, you know, for someone like me that wants something really girly, I'm like, can you make a vanilla? Can you make a lavender? And this apparently does have some lavender in it, but the smell is pretty nice. You can see what it looks like there. It just smells kind of fresh and grassy and slightly citrusy, maybe like a lemongrass. So that's it. Primal Derma, check it out. It's super groovy. And until we meet again, oh, there's another review. I did a vegan product review to go with this one. For those of you who are vegans, if you watch this for some crazy reason, for those of you who are like me, who like vegan products and animal-based products, if they come from ethical companies, sweet, check that one out. And until we meet again, much love. Peace.